Now, did we expect anything less? Did we expect anything less of this show? And I'll tell you from the start, I'm not a He-Man fan, but you ain't got. I'm not gonna lie about it in 2 years and say I was, like Kevin Smith did. But is these scores now? This is we see this with everything. How big the disconnect is between critics and fans, because the critics are shills. They're shills for Netflix and everything. They're shills. That's all they are. They're not to be trusted. They're not to be seen as credible in any instant. But this just shows you how big a disconnect there really is. But this is who Hollywood would rather impress. They'd rather impress critics over fans. It's like I don't know why that's happening. It's like, no, your job is to impress. You're meant to impress the fans, not the critics. Fuck what the critics say, especially in this day and age, because they are shills and they'll always be shills. They'll never regain any credibility if they decided to turn it around, which they probably won't, because they're probably getting paid off and shit like that. And of course, if the fans have a problem with it, they're just labelled, where they're just toxic fans. So in the end up, it's the fans that get the blame anyway. It's like they can fuck up as much as they want, but no, the fans are to blame. They're the ones that get the blame. But it does show and all how much they believe their own bullshit, their own garbage, their own feminism, woke shit, whatever. This is how much they believe it, that they have to bait and switch people. They have to present it. They presented it as if it was He-Man, and it should have been about He-Man, because He-Man is the main fucking character. That's who it should have been about. He should have been constantly on the screen. You should have been constantly seeing him. And that's the way they presented it in the trailers, and when they spoke about it. But then you watch it, which I haven't, and I don't intend to, because why am I going to waste my fucking time? But it just shows that they are aware that if they lead with their garbage, no one's going to show up. That's why they have to present it in such a way to get you, like we've seen with Loki. That was a bait and switch. Everything they do now is a bait and switch, because that's how much they believe their own fucking ideological bollocks, that they have to present it that way. It's like even in the little poster there, He-Man's front and centre. But he's, from what I'm hearing, he's barely in it. But I mean, let's call Kevin Smith what he is. He's just another Hollywood woke shill weirdo asshole. He's a prick. That's the only way to describe him. He's a sellout. Used to be the man of the people, and then he sold out, like they all do, because they're all pieces of shit. They're all scum. But I mean, all this should have been expected. That's why, see now when they come out with something that, say you watched it when you were a kid and it was like your favourite show and all that. It's like, see if they say they're going to make it. That's when you should be no, I'm alright. Give it 10, 15 years and then maybe, if you gave up on your shit. But yeah, time and time again, they're just going to keep doing it. They're not going to stop until it really affects them. And it's just boring, it's tiring, and it's old. It's like, how much shit do we need to get of this? Fucking all year round, it's the same shit. It's like, you've already done that with that other show. You've already done that in that film. You've already done it in that, fucking everything. How many times can you tell this same bollock story? Everything, well, now it's about the woman. It's like where the show's He-Man. But I mean, what they called it should have been the first insight into, well, it's not going to be about He-Man. Because why would you take the He-Man out of the title? So that's sort of the first giveaway. And of course, every article out there is covering for Kevin Smith. Even with this headline, Kevin Smith made Netflix's Masters of the Universe revelations specifically to please He-Man fans. Well, that's a lie. I would say he made it specifically to alienate He-Man fans. Some got mad anyway. That's obviously the toxic fans that they're going to get into. But it's every article out there almost exclusively is covering for the prick. He did not make it for He-Man. If he made it for He-Man fans, He-Man would have fucking been in it more. He-Man would have been the main character. But no, they've got to make the butch-looking woman the main character. It's like, oh, how many times are you going to do it? You shouldn't have took it on, Kevin, because you didn't really have any ideas for it, did you? You weren't a fan, then you were a fan. It's like, make up your fucking mind. But let's get into some of this bullshit. Biazelli's like, I yearn to watch the show that I thought I was watching in childhood. That's what I'm looking for here. The same show, but people can die. Game of Thrones. That's what they've made. They've made Game of Thrones, where people can die. Oh, that hasn't been done before. Oh, how original. Originality is fucking pouring off them. How can you... But people can die. Right, you've obviously watched too much Game of Thrones, and you've just stole that idea. Can you do that? And Smith said, and I was like, that's the only thing I can do. Is it? That's the only thing you can do. Honestly, if it had been anything else outside of that, if they were like, we want you to reinvent this for the modern age, you did. That would have scared me off creatively because I'm not that inventive. Smith continued, and also because I know what a fan base reacts like when they don't get the thing they grew up watching. So why did you do what you did? It's probably just bullshitting, really, let's be honest. You think I'm going to be the fool guy for that? You are the fool guy for that. If I'm involved in a thing, it's going to be true to what it is. It's going to be true to the franchise. But again, it isn't. And yet, a little more than 24 hours after the debut of Masters of the Universe on Netflix, and despite near universally glowing notices from critics, who cares what the fucking critics think? That's why are people trying to impress the critics? They're not the people you should be appealing to. The show has been review bombed by users posting on to Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. The general consensus among those upset, Smith had indeed not given fans the thing they grew up watching, namely, he had not given them He-Man. Because that's who people want. People want He-Man. They don't want fucking a butch woman. What I don't know why they're making characters look like that. I don't know. By any reasonable measure, Smith, David, and the rest of the creative team were successful in achieving what they set out to do. Alienate the entire fan base. Make a series that looks and feels like a sophisticated adult continuation of the He-Man animated series from the 1980s. In the first episode, Smith, David, and the rest of the creative team made a bold creative decision. He-Man seemingly dies, as does Skeletor, the result of a cataclysmic battle that also leaves Eternia devoid of all magic. While He-Man appears in flashbacks for the rest of the first half of the season, he's missing in action from the main story. It's because they never intended to have it about He-Man. You can't do it. You can't have a main character that's a man. If you do, you need to cuck him. You need to emasculate him. Instead, He-Man's friends and even some of his enemies have to figure out how to bring back magic to Eternia and save all of existence in doing so. In the quest, they're led reluctantly by He-Man's former loyal compatriot, Teela, of course, who still feels devastated and betrayed as the only one in He-Man's inner circle who never knew he was also Prince Adam. In speaking with Variety about these choices, it's clear that the creators and cast of Revelation only ever wanted to please fans of the show by getting to do the things the original never could. Real stakes and real consequences. Again, that's been done. It's Game of Thrones. With nuanced characters imbued with genuine pathos and psychological maturity. But it's also clear that Revelation is a textbook case of the precarious tightrope walk of trying to please fans of a legacy franchise while also trying to avoid merely regurgitating what came before. Right, see all this walking the... you think you're supposed to please the fans. That's the people you're supposed to please. So I don't know why the fuck do Hollywood have a problem with pleasing fans? Just in case you didn't know, they're the people that pay money. They're the people that pay for things. They're the people that buy things. So they are the people that you want to please. See if you please the already existing fans. Then other people are gonna come in no matter what. Especially given that the world of extremely online fandoms almost always exclusively driven by men. There's still quite a lot of women in that category, so I don't think it's just men. But they're always presented as that anyway. Have not responded well when a property previously led by a man suddenly has a woman at its centre instead. But I know, because they do it all the time. It's like, why does everything have to be led by a woman? And whenever they do it with a woman, the woman's always fucking annoying and out of her fucking mind. And it's more proof that they still don't know how to write a female character, even though they did it in the past. But yeah, of course they've got to label fucking the fans as just these toxic fandoms driven by men. Oh ho ho. Well, maybe it's because the majority of this stuff, the people that are fans of it, are, for the most part, men. But yeah, this is what they made Teela look like. The SJW haircut. They never looked like a woman. Never looked like a woman. It was a fucking ugly woman at that, anyway. Fuck me, man. I don't know why they keep making these women butch. As anyone who has seen all 5 episodes of Revelation knows, there was more for Wood to do, who voiced He-Man. Especially in episode 5, since neither Skeletor nor Prince Adam really died. But David's initial pitch to Smith kept Adam alive the entire time. And then Kevin thought that was terrific, said David. And then he one-upped me and said, what if we don't just break the Sword of Power? What if we actually break Adam too? Because you need to cuck and emasculate all the men. What if he dies? When we flash forward a few years, we get to explore that. Also, what is it like for a world without He-Man? Well, for a world without He-Man, that's a world where the fans don't show up. And then we get into the Sarah Michelle Gellar who voiced Teela about doing the role. So she says, I thought it'd be a very small role at first, because just looking at He-Man, I didn't even really necessarily remember her. I mean, maybe vaguely, and then I started reading and I was like, oh, she's the show. Okay, this is new. And remember, this is what Kevin Smith lied about. That whole thing with Clownfish TV. In truth, Gellar didn't pay very much attention to the original He-Man, for the simple reason that the entire world was telling her the show was only for boys. I don't think anyone said it was only for boys. They probably said it was just targeted at boys. But you know, boys can't have nothing anymore. It's not allowed. Everything's got to be about a woman. For some reason. Because it's as if in the 80s there was no shows that were targeted at girls. You know what I mean? So everything was exclusively aimed at boys. But now we're in a world where everything is aimed at women. Everything. Every show, every film, it's always aimed at women. It's fucking nonsense. But she goes on, I think what's interesting about the original incarnation was it was very gender specific. There wasn't something for me. There wasn't a character that I saw myself in. I'm going to pop a fucking blood vessel if I have to keep listening to adults say shit like this. That I saw myself in. Why would you see yourself in the character? You loser. Fucking hell. It pisses me the fuck. Just shut up saying shit like that. And I think that sort of, then you realise it's not about gender, right? It's not necessarily boy-girl, but it's about seeing yourself in someone in it. No, it's not. That's not what it... Fuck it. Who are these people that are going around, oh, I see myself in that... You know what I do? I just go, I like that character. He's cool. That's it. That's it. I don't go, oh, I wonder if he does this as well. It's like, I don't give a shit. I just go, I like that character. That's it. I don't go, oh, I like that character because I see myself in it and I relate to it. I don't need to relate to a person to fucking like it. It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. If you need to see yourself in someone in a show, you're a weirdo. You should go back in the womb. What's so wonderful about what they did with Revelation is not only do I see myself in a lot of these female characters, do you? They're all ugly. You're actually good looking. So I don't know why you're seeing yourself in them. But I also see myself... How many times can you say see myself in a fucking paragraph? But I also see myself for the first time in He-Man and Skeletor. Because they've been emasculated. They're much closer to characters that I think that we can understand and feel like we have something in common with. Because you've got to have something in common with everybody. Not that I like to think I have too much in common with Skeletor. It was that opportunity to humanise and complicate established characters that Smith was most excited about, especially since it gave him a chance to put into practice a decade's worth of personal observations of the most successful attempt at fan service in Hollywood history. Hollywood don't do fan service anymore. They don't give a shit about the fans. And Revelations is going down the Marvel route. Everything's women. It's just that's all they've got. All they've got is it's a woman. Is it? Nothing else. That's all you've got. That's all you've got to offer. Some fans, though, majority of fans, just want their childhood again. Smith spoke with Variety weeks before Revelation's debut, but his sensitivity to fan reactions meant he was closely monitoring Twitter for how people were talking about the various trailers for Revelations. So he'd already picked up on discontent with the understanding that Teela was going to be a far more important character on this show. I know there's some people, they are like, hey man, this show's woke, he said. I'm like, alright, great, then so was the original cartoon. We're sequelizing. Go watch it again. There are girls in every episode. Yeah, because no one's got a problem with girls being in episodes. That's not what the issue is. The issue is you've come out of a show and the title character is nowhere to be seen. Because you're not making this for fans, you're making this for your Hollywood friends. You're making this for the shill critics. That's who you're making. You haven't made it for the fans from the start. But you know, we could go on and on, but all this shit is just getting old now. It's like, stop just going, right, we're going to get rid of the man and now the woman's the main character. What's that? What is that? I've seen it 1,000 times now. I don't need to see it anymore. It's fucking boring. It's not done out of creativity. It's done out of pleasing pricks that you hang around. I don't know. But that's who you've made it for. You've made it for a bunch of assholes. That's who you've made it for. You used the old bait and switch to get people to watch it. So don't sit and say some fans... No, the majority of fans weren't happy with it. You did this to put your bollocks in it, like you do with everything. That's why Hollywood is dead, and they deserve to be nothing more than dust and ashes. That's what Hollywood deserves. And it will come to them. Eventually, they're not going to have nothing left. Everybody's going to leave. But, you know, keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Because the more you do it, the closer we get to the pendulum swinging. So pump all the money you've got into it. Just keep pouring money into it so it can fail. And you can die off with it. That's what needs to happen, and it is going to happen. But we shouldn't have. We don't need any more shows from my childhood. Or I don't want to see them anyway. I don't want to see them. Like I said at the start of the video, no, I'll give it a pass. I'll do it in like 10, 15 years when people are actually fucking normal and wired right. Because at the moment, you're all fucking tapped. You're all mentally ill, mentally incapacitated pricks. That's what you are. Because you're more worried about what these far left freaks think. Even though they're not the ones that are going to watch it. They're not the fan base that are going to show up. So just enough of this shit. I've had enough of it. You do it with everything. Let's emasculate the male. Let's elevate the woman and make her an insufferable twat. But you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and do it. Just keep doing it. Go on. Because people that do, they have no soul. You don't have a soul, Kevin Smith. You have no soul. And that's why you're trying to suck the soul out of everybody else. The fans you're not allowed any enjoyment. You can't enjoy anything. That's all Hollywood is now. They're just soul suckers because they're miserable pieces of shit. Kevin Smith never cared about He-Man, and the rest of Hollywood, any franchise they're involved in, they don't care about it either. They only use it as a vehicle to push their bollocks. That's it. They want to ruin and destroy every bit of good. So they start with your shows and your franchise, all your franchises. That's what they start with. Because they hate you. They despise the fans. Absolutely despise the fans. Because they're no less than evil. That's what they are. They have to suck the soul out of everybody. But yeah, we're not allowed to enjoy anything anymore. You can't enjoy it. No. We've got to bore you to death. But this is a shit that we've seen for the past 10 years almost, and we're gonna see it for at least another 10 years. So that's why I'm like, see, like, Lord of the Rings is probably my main thing that I would love to see. But this new Amazon show, it's gonna be shit. That's just what it is. We know what it's gonna be. So that's why I don't look forward to it. I'm just fucking... You can't enjoy it. You can't have any enjoyment now. We've got to talk about world issues. That's what we've got to talk about. We've got to emasculate men because for some reason Hollywood hates men. I don't know why. I don't know. Why do they hate men so much? Because the patriot... Just fuck off. Just stop talking bollocks. But yeah, that's all I've got to say on that anyway. So if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.